So I saw the new Barbie movie a couple weeks ago, and it was pretty good. The casting was choice. The writing was choice. The jokes were choice. The music, choice. So that's why I was surprised when someone told me to watch the Critical Drinker's review of this movie. I don't really follow much of the Critical Drinker. I've seen a few of his videos pop up here and there, but overall I don't know much about him other than that he's insanely popular on here, and that some of his opinions are trash. Bruh. But someone told me I should watch this review because I would be blown away by this take. I need to see.
Now, before I dive into this review properly, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and genius PR campaign of the Warner Brothers marketing department.
True.
You guys really pulled off a miracle with this one, successfully duping all of us, including me, into believing that—
Now, hold on. If he says that it duped him into thinking that it was going to be some politically driven movie, kind of how Twitter and all that was hyping it up to be, but it actually wasn't, then I agree.
Successfully duping all of us, including me, into believing that Barbie was going to be just another colourful, light-hearted, easygoing family comedy with some cheeky, self-aware humour, ironic meta-gags, and probably capped off with a blandly inoffensive female empowerment message. What none of us expected was 114 minutes of spiteful, bitter, mean-spirited, borderline unhinged hatred of men and everything even vaguely associated.
He's joking, right? Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I'm sorry, is it within the first minute of the video? Future me. Cut that out. How fragile, I hate to immediately go this route, but like how fragile does your ego have to be to watch a movie like Barbie and feel like it's attacking your entire gender? Oh my God. This is why this video feels like satire, is because his description of the movie at the beginning is exactly what the movie was. But he's trying to make it seem like, oh no, they tricked us. That's not what it was. Oh my God. Okay, you know what? Maybe I'm blind. Maybe I don't see it. Maybe I need the Critical Drinker to open my eyes. Maybe I'm just a sheep. Let's see. Maybe he'll make some good points.
Barbie is like the deformed, mutated rage child of Captain Marvel, Ghostbusters 2016, and She-Hulk.
So I'm an expert.
Okay, yes, I will even admit that those movies and shows are bad. And one could try to argue that it's the forced inclusion of that kind of modern woke nature that makes it bad, but that's not it. It's just bad. Like Ghostbusters 2016 could have been funny. It could have been. It just wasn't. And that has nothing to do with its anti-patriarchal nature. It's due to the fact that Paul Feig is not funny. It's just such a disgrace to compare those movies to Barbie. Like I said, those movies are not very good. Like Captain Marvel is inoffensive. It's whatever. Like, yes, it's very strong into the girl power thing, but that, whatever. Who cares? Why does that offend you so much? Is it because you got tricked into watching a movie that has Brie Larson in it because you think she's hot, and then you got forced into watching a movie that's not for you? Is that how you feel?
It is pure brain cancer in movie form, and I was genuinely shocked by the sheer, undisguised contempt this—
I like it how he's saying that this movie's pure cancer while showing the most inoffensive dance sequences and like dumbass scenes that are literally 80 to 90% of this movie.
Watching this film was one of the most miserable, demoralizing, unpleasant experiences I've ever had as a movie critic.
So was having sex with your mom. Oh!
And genuinely made me question where our society is heading. But the review must be done, and you know what Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Old Jack always says, what the hell?
The movie begins—
To use a movie character like that to relate himself to is so fucking cringy.
The movie begins with a rip-off homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey, where little girls discover Barbie for the first time, and if the visual metaphor of little girls happily destroying the embodiment of motherhood to focus their lives instead on a shallow and materialistic piece of consumerist trash is lost on you, then I don't know what to say, man, but you're probably the target audience for this movie. Anyway,
how can you so plainly see something but still be ignorant to it? He claims that people who can't see what they're trying to say are just blind and blindly following their man-hating anti-patriarchal rampage. But that's just a comment on society. It's not a comment on men. Like, you can put something in a movie that— how do I explain this? I feel like I need to explain it like he's 5 years old. You can put something in a movie that isn't good because They're commenting on the thing that isn't good. Did you get that? This review should just be called Man is Confronted with Satire for the First Time in His Life.
Explains that all the Barbie and Ken dolls live together in Barbie Land, a kind of magical counterpart to the real world, which is portrayed as a peaceful feminist utopia where all the important jobs are done by the Barbies and the Kens just kind of exist. They've got no inherent value, they contribute nothing, they have no power or say in how their society is run, and they're basically looked down on as a bit silly and irrelevant by the Barbies. Oh my goodness, what could the writers possibly be trying to tell us about their views on men?
Nothing! That's what the toys are! They're not saying anything about men as a whole. That's what these characters are. That's like getting upset at a Mario movie because they made an Italian guy a plumber. Oh, that really shows what they think about Italian Americans in 2023. Why am I so passionate about this?
Anyway, this is where we meet stereotypical Barbie, who's busy living her best life, partying with her friends and treating her boyfriend stereotypical Ken like absolute dog shit. Who's the hero of this thing again? Anyway, things suddenly change.
Is he ever going to bring up the fact that the satire is rooted in almost the opposite of the nuclear family of the 1950s? If you just replaced everything he said but with men and women switched, you'd be describing the American dream back then. But somehow this is lost on him because now the tables have been turned and he's the one who possibly doesn't have any power. Oh no.
See, because Barbie World is a reflection of the real world, the Barbies' appearances change depending on how their real-life owner plays with them. Wait, what? Then the place would look like the Omaha Beach scene from Saving Private Ryan. At any moment, Barbies could suddenly get torn apart, or melted, or crushed right in front of their friends' eyes.
Obviously, that little nitpick of saying, oh, well, why aren't more of the Barbies deformed? Sure, that's okay, that's a fair nitpick, but it's a movie about Barbies. That wasn't about the point you're making. So why do that? And also there is a mangled Barbie. Okay, you showed it. You showed it while you were talking about it.
And Ken tags along for the ride because he's got nothing better to do than simp for Barbie. Unfortunately, the real world turns out to be an oppressive, patriarchal hellscape that's utterly dominated by men.
Okay.
One guy literally walks up to Barbie and slaps her in the ass, in the middle of a crowded boardwalk, in broad daylight.
Has this guy left his house? Has this guy ever been to a bar or like a club ever? Ever? I mean, he doesn't have to answer that. Obviously, he's a fucking incel in his basement, but it's fine.
In front of her boyfriends. Now, you might think that this would afford the writers a chance to demonstrate a little bit of nuance in their storytelling, maybe portray the real world as both good and bad, kind of like in Enchanted, where the protagonist gets taken out of her cartoon homeworld and has to learn to navigate the complexities and difficulties of real life. But then again, that movie actually had a likeable main character, a decent story, and wasn't written by people who despised half the human population.
That's not what Enchanted was about, though. This is a commentary on the nature of the Barbie toy. And to make a joke about the real world being the opposite of what the Barbie world is a joke. Also, the real world isn't really the real world. Just because it's based on our real life does not mean it's one-for-one depicting reality. Clearly, in this universe, there's a fucking Barbie land that exists, and toys are real?
But nope, the real world and all the men in it are shown to be universally, irredeemably horrible.
Yeah, you're not helping the cause.
Because of course they are. Anyway, Barbie eventually finds the kid who plays with her, who turns out to be an asshole communist activist feminist that I think the movie wants us to empathise with, but fuck me, for the life of me I could not tell you why. Ken, on the other hand, discovers the patriarchy is very much to his liking, mainly because for the first time in his entire life, people actually show him basic respect and human decency.
Again, missing the forest for the trees, man. Come on. Just dig a little bit deeper in yourself. And also, I'd like to point out that just because you are supposed to empathize with a character does not mean you have to agree 100% with that character. There's a difference between empathizing and agreeing. You can do one without the other. I realize that for you, that's impossible. 1/3 of the world are sociopaths, and that's okay. But even a sociopath can Google empathy. If anything, in those scenes, you're meant to empathize with Barbie more. The daughter kind of tears Barbie down in a few scenes, being like, you're just the stereotypical view of a woman, and that's disgusting. It's like, well, what if the stereotypical view of a woman is something that she wants? Her individually. And that's kind of what the movie is trying to point out, is that we all like different things, and we don't need to be pigeonholed into being a Ken or being a Barbie. How did you miss that?
So when Barbie eventually returns to Barbie Land, she discovers to her horror that Ken has brought the patriarchy back with him and turned the whole place into a giant frat party in the space of like a day.
Hilarious, by the way.
Finally, a plot event I can get behind. It's kind of funny though, because it did make me question how the supposedly intelligent, empowered and self-confident Barbies were so easily subjugated by Ken and the others. This is the kind of awkward little paradox that keeps coming up when you try to constantly portray women as strong, empowered, infallible, kick-ass girl bosses who can do anything and beat anyone, but you also need them to be helpless oppressed victims of male domination. You can't have your cake and eat it. Not to worry though, because Barbie uses her newfound powers of feminism.
All right. The joke is not that they're dumb enough to just let a man come in and take over. The joke was that they were so tired of running everything that they actually enjoyed taking a day off, which is kind of fucking hilarious. That in itself is kind of making a subtle jab at feminism in a way, and not even in a harsh way. This movie takes shots at both sides. And that's the whole point of it. It's ribbing, it's fun. It makes fun of the stereotypical patriarchal man, and then also makes fun of the stereotypical woman. That's the point of the movie. Just because you could only focus on when you were being made fun of and couldn't see the rest of it, and your tiny little fragile ego got so broken up that you had to drink more and make a stupid ass video lying to people about what this movie's about. It's fucking gross, man.
To free the other Barbies from the evil Ken's oppression, and because they're all dumb as fuck, she's able to trick them into fighting each other until eventually they just give up and surrender.
See, you just said it right there. They're dolls. They're all dumb as fuck.
Now, you might think that after all these wild swings between male and female domination, the logical way forward would be for Barbie Land to adopt a more equal system where both sides are given power and respect. Perhaps teaching the audience that for all our differences, men and women are both pretty awesome, and maybe we'd do well to work together instead of unfairly elevating one group above the other. But nope, the Barbies go right back to being in charge of everything again, and the Kens slide back into a meaningless, depressing existence of being irrelevant second-class citizens. There's something genuinely horrible and sinister. This is a movie made by people who utterly despise men and masculinity, or any kind of traditional gender roles of any kind, and make absolutely no attempt to hide it. So you're a woman who wants to be a mother or a homemaker? Screw you, fascist! You're a man who wants to be assertive, ambitious, confident, and successful? Well, that clearly makes you a misogynist, don't you know?
But it also made fun of the other side. Also, the end of the movie did not leave off exactly the same way it started. Did you even watch the movie, or did you just leave after a half an hour and go, yeah, I've got this. I know what happens. And also, the joke of things not changing overnight is kind of the point. And again, that's kind of a joke taking a jab at feminism, that shit is not going to change overnight. Even when we realize that there has been an overwhelming inequality between the genders in this country, it doesn't change overnight. Even though people like you like to pretend it did. It's like, oh, women could vote, so we did it. Like, no, man, that's part of the joke.
Women are simply amazing, and men and everything they do are utterly irredeemably shit. They might be grudgingly tolerated provided they play by the rules, but they have no inherent value and can never be trusted with any kind of power or responsibility.
Did you ever stop to consider that you yourself are a man? So you are viewing this solely from the man's... I don't know anything about the critical drinker's life, but if he had a girlfriend or wife that went to see this with him, which I highly doubt he does, I think he would have had a better chance of understanding the woman's side of it, because there were things that my girlfriend got out of this movie that I never even would have noticed. And that's kind of the point of the movie. It is for everyone.
And the only way to guarantee a peaceful and harmonious society is for women to be put in charge of everything and men to be docile, powerless servants who exist only to please them.
Not a great plan.
Wow, what an inspiring message for impressionable young girls.
It's a Barbie movie. It's a Barbie movie. Okay, there's like 48 seconds left in this or something. I can't do it. I don't know what the odds are. of him actually seeing this response review thing. I'm like a nobody on YouTube. I'm aware of that. I don't give a shit. I'm sure the first thing he'll comment on is like, let's see. Oh yeah, he'll be like, dude who can't even grow a beard tries to roast me. Good one, dude. Listen, I do agree that companies, big company conglomerates, are using this kind of modern woke, for lack of a better term, marketing scheme to relate to younger people. And what they're doing is a little scummy, but the core of it is not bad. The core of it is progression. It's making people feel loved, making people feel equal. And if you feel like things have been going well for the last 2,000 years, you're probably a white guy. And that's fine. I am too. Dude, look at me. It's hard to realize that there was an imbalance of power when you've had the power the whole time. Especially when you have the opportunity to just get shit-faced and make awful YouTube videos for a living, and you don't think that you're somehow in a position of power? Come on, man. I don't know how you're going to feel about this video. I'm sure some people are going to hate it. Some people might like it. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. Please subscribe. I do reviews of fan films. I make music. I play video games. I stream over on Twitch and sometimes here on YouTube. Skorge slaps. Make sure to check that out. All right. You have a good week, guys. Peace.